Sunshine! Welcome back to my channel and Happy New Year! It's so fun to kick off a brand new year and a new year of quilty projects. But before diving into new quilts that I'll be making this year, I thought I would take you through some of the quilts that I made in 2020. I think it's always fun to kind of take a quick sneak peek at what you made in the previous year. Look at things that you really enjoyed, and then kind of plan through for 2021 or for the next year what you would like to focus on and new techniques that you want to try or new patterns that you want to play with. So today I'm going to walk you through all of the projects that I made in 2020. Let's dive in. So I don't know about you, but 2020 was an odd year for me because I was actually away from the studio for almost 6 months out of the year. So I was away from my sewing machine, which meant that I really couldn't make that many new projects. But having said that, I was able to get some projects started at the very beginning of the year, and then I completed some smaller projects throughout, and then capped off the end of the year with a couple more finishes. So let's start with the first one. So I started the year by finishing off my cloud surfing quilt. This one was such a fun journey. It's a collaboration that I did with Jenny from Papa Saxton. She had created these new oval drunkard's path rulers, and she was kind enough to send them to me to just play with and come up with new designs. And so this is what came of that. I had received the rulers, I think, back in the summer of 2019, and spent some time on my summer vacation just kind of playing with the designs, and I designed a lot of different quilts using those templates. Where I landed though, I kept coming back to this one design that really in my creative instincts were just like, I need to make this one. So at the tail end of 2019, I made the smaller version, and then going into 2020, I made this one. So this is the larger lap size that I created. The pattern comes with two sizes, the smaller baby version wall hanging size, and then this guy. And this one, I am super excited to share that she's going to QuiltCon 2021. So she'll be featured in this year's QuiltCon show. And I know so many of you have reached out saying that you love this pattern, you love the design, but you're a little intimidated by all those curves. So I'm super excited to share that I've got a workshop in February going through this exact quilt. So we can make it together. I'm going to walk you through sewing curves with and without pins. So if curves has been on your quilty to-do list, then 2021 is your opportunity to come and sew curves with me, featuring this very modern and very abstract quilt pattern, but very fun and really very enjoyable. So that was quilt number one. The second project that I made actually was an improv version using the scraps left over from the smaller version of the cloud surfing quilt and the linen that was featured in the lap size. So I just had fun going to town with the scraps left over. So this is the cloud surfing improv wall hanging that I created, and it features all kinds of hand quilting details on it, which was just so fun to add in. So this one kept me quite busy when we were self-isolating. This is the one that I was working on most of the mornings when I first got up there, and she was really good at keeping me calm. So that was the second project that I tackled. I also had the lovely pleasure of helping Wendy Chow from the Weekend Quilter with a quilt pattern testing that I did for her new Urban Quilts book that's coming out this month. And so she reached out and asked me if I would test the Landmark quilt pattern, which I did. So here's the baby wall hanging size. I love this modern quilt pattern. I think it's really fun to play with different colors. What I ended up doing with this one is I ended up sneaking brown in. I don't normally work with brown it's not my go-to color, but I really challenged myself after I had received some brown by mistake in the mail, and I took it as a sign that maybe it was time I played with it. So this one is entirely hand quilted, mainly in pearl cotton thread. So you can see it from the back, all the quilty texture. And this is actually AGF denim, AGF Art Gallery Fabrics denim. It feels really good. This one has a real good textural feel to it. It's very soft. I wish you could feel it. But this one, the pattern will be available in the Urban Quilting book coming out this month, January. So from that, I then went to create a improv version, because you know me, I like to play with the fabric scraps of my previous projects. So this is the improv version that I created from the Landmark quilt. So these are all the scraps that I had left on my sewing table after making the other one, and I just had fun piecing her together. This one is also entirely hand quilted, but more in a improv style, whereas the other one I followed more of the layout of the pattern. So what I find fun about these two is that it gives you a fun overview of what you can do and the different looks you can achieve working with a pattern, and then same colors and same fabrics, but you working them in a more improv style. So I thought that was really fun. Oh, and both of these I've actually faced. So instead of doing my traditional binding, I actually went with a faced binding on both of these, which is just, it finishes them off really nicely. It's just a very clean finish. So this one I also worked on while I was self-isolating. So as you can see, there was a lot of hand stitching going on. Before I actually left, one of the quilts that I managed to finish quilting before I headed out of the city was this Ecliptic Quilt. So this one is a pattern that will be coming out in 2021. I had tried to get it out to you guys in 2020, but it was just crazy, so that didn't happen. But I'm hoping that 2021 is the year, because I know so many of you guys are waiting for this one. She's a lot of fun to play with, and while it's Junkert's Paths again, but it's not the oval Junkert's Path. This is the classic ones, and so fun to play with these. What I had fun too was I quilted her in 28 weight. Using this really pretty lilac color. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. And then I used Jackie Garrig's walkbook. I think it was called the Nested Diamonds, to quilt her up. That's the design that I used. I'm really happy with how she turned out. I ended up getting the binding on her while I was self-isolating. So as you can see, there was definitely a lot of hand stitching going on kind of mid-year and throughout the summer while I wasn't in the city. When I was able to get back to the city, one of the first things that I did was I made a couple of pincushions. So if I back up a little bit, right before leaving the city, I had launched the Sit and Sew pincushion. This guy is a design that I have been making since I first started sewing, so even before I started quilting. This is one of the first projects I ever made for myself. It's an essential tool in my quilty toolbox. I have them next to my sewing machine, I have them at my ironing board, I have them in my travel sewing kit. I just find these super practical to have in your sewing space. I put all my essential notions here, and then obviously the pincushion at the top. But I filled them with crushed walnut shells, so she's nice and heavy and sits on your sewing table without falling off nicely. So she's good. So when I came back from when I got back to the studio in the fall, I had a session that I had to record for Simple Simon & Co. And so this is the version that I made using the scraps left over from my Shattered Star quilt. So this is just one of the versions that I made this year. And you'll remember I also had a quilt along this year using a holiday fabrics, which I don't have that quilt with me because I left her up at the lake. But this is the solids version featuring Ruby and Bee solids, and guys, this one just feels amazing. Not only is she like super bold and super colorful, but the feel of this one is really quite remarkable. And then if I flip her, you can see I've got the little apples, the apples all over the back, which is so cute. And then I finished it off with big stitch hand binding. So this one is super fun. And is a pattern available in my shop. I wish I had the holiday version because that one's really cute and shows you a different look using fat quarters and a little bit of solids thrown in there. From there, I also created the Shattered Star Table Runner because I do love a quilted table runner. So this one is just a green one featuring some artisan cottons and a Riley Blake print by the Tattooed Quilter. And then I just did a solid green on the back. But again, I went in with a 28 weight for the quilting, which is just, I just love the added detail that it adds. So that's also a pattern in my shop if you so wish. And then rounding out the Shattered Star pattern options is the Shattered Star Lumbar Pillow. This one is so fun. I do love a lumbar pillow. I find them more practical and comfortable than traditional pillows for some reason. And I just love that it's a different shape than the traditional square. And this one, I, again, entirely hand quilted. I hand quilted the back of it, which is just an Art Gallery's Pure Solids on the backing. And then again, these are all Art Gallery fabrics, Pure Solids, and I just hand quilted it in 12 weight Orfil thread. And then I also put together a tutorial for you guys on how to insert a metal zipper because that stumped me for the longest time. So I walked you through how to do that. You can find that on my blog. And to round out the projects that I completed this year, there was a fun little challenge that I got to do with Olfa, Orfil, and Michael Miller Fabrics. They have their Olfa, it's their Slice and Stitch challenge. And so I got a fat quarter bundle of yellow fabrics from Michael Miller Fabrics. And then I also got a trio of yellow threads from Orfil. And I got some fun Olfa rulers. And I just went to town and had some fun piecing together this little mini and then playing around with the quilting on it. So there's 3 different thread colors in here, as well as 3 different yellow fabric colors. So this one was so fun to make. It's fun to do these little challenges because it kind of breaks up the traditional way of approaching things. So fun. And then I got the chance to reprieve my role as a Quiltmas elf this year for the Quiltmas Spectacular. This was the second year that we, the team got together to offer, it's 12 days of Christmas, so the first 12 days of December, and each modern quilt pattern designer offers a free pattern for each day of those 12 days. So this is the one that I did this year. This is called the Deli quilt pattern. And it is a foundation paper piece pattern. And I walk you through all of the steps on how to, I have a couple blogs post actually on how to foundation paper piece. It is super easy to do, but I know it takes a minute to kind of wrap your head around it because it's a little bit backwards in how you stitch it. But once you kind of, you get your brain wrapped around that, it's super easy and super fun, and you get really sharp points with it. So it's a good technique to do. And this one I just echo quilted around the design, which is really fun. In this, like it's like a movie, like it's a mod rose type thread color. It's very pretty. And these are all Art Gallery fabrics from their Sparkler Fusion collection. So those were two small minis. And then the last one that I did was the Scrappy plus Infinity quilt. So The Plus Infinity is not a new pattern in the shop, but I wanted to add a scrappy version. So right before leaving the city in early April, I had kicked off the 7-day scrap sorting challenge for you guys, which you loved and ended up being the most loved blog post of 2020, which is super exciting and very fun, and it just reconfirms that as quilters we amass quite a bit of fabric scraps. So this was my first true scrappy quilt. I don't normally work with all kinds of scraps. I normally work with scraps from a project. So this was a first for me and definitely not a last. So I just wanted to share this one. This pattern, the updated pattern, will be coming out in January. So either, I'm hoping for next week, but it could be the week after. But January is the month that this one is coming out, that the new extension will be available. And I've actually updated that pattern to add a little bit more clarity. It was an older pattern. It was one of the first patterns that I released. So I've updated her and just kind of brought her up to spec with my current standards for my pattern. So this one is super, super fun. I backed her in a linen, which just feels really, really nice. I'll give you guys more of a full rundown on this one in another video, but I just wanted to include her because she was one that I was able to finish right before I left for the holidays. I managed to finish machine quilting her, and then I hand quilted the rest of it while I was up at the lake. So yay for getting her done! So that's it, you guys. That is, I think, everything that I made. Oh, well, I made a couple more pin cushions. There's a couple that I made for friends, and I sent them out as Christmas gifts, so I don't have those to show you. But these are always great projects to have, not only to give as gifts, but also to use up any scraps that you have. So I hope that was helpful. I always love seeing what everybody else has made and what projects they've completed. There are other projects that are not fully finished that I did start in 2020, so I'm not showing them to you today. I'm only showing you what is completely finished and not sitting on my whip pile. So thank you as always for popping in. If you guys have any questions, don't forget to leave them in the comment box down below. I'm always happy to help you out. Don't forget to like the video if you found it enjoyable, and hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future videos. So thank you again for joining me, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.